morning and welcome to Unusual Activity powered by FinancialJuice.com with George Avedon and Milton Romanides. Thank you for joining us this morning, this 9th of December 2014. Always lots to talk about. Futures, big risk off. This morning, futures are lower by 17.25 at 2042.25. Again, down 17.25 at 2042.25. We'll get into the technical, see what all this means in a few minutes. A brief overview of what we're seeing in the markets this morning. Oil this morning at 63.62, crude oil higher by 56 cents, 57 cents at $63.62. Gold this morning is higher by $23.10 at 1218.0. And again, we have futures down 17.00. DXY, the dollar index is lower this morning by 0.412 at 88.629. And again, we'll get into that, but with a higher dollar, with a lower dollar, perhaps putting in a little bit of a bid into the crude oil environment. So let's dive into the material this morning. Quick recap of yesterday's day. Seems as though this particular sell-off started second half of yesterday afternoon. There was a tight trading range for the first part of the day in the S&P 500. Early afternoon sell-off continued for the rest of the trading day, with the S&P 500 being lower by 0.73% at 2060.31. Dow Jones Industrial Average lower by 0.59% at 17,852.48, and Nasdaq being lower by 0.84 at 4740.69. Certainly, we have quite a bit of news that's geopolitically making quite a bit of inflection on markets this morning. Certainly, what we normally watch is the Middle East situation. Certainly, Russia, the oil situation, the gas situation. With respect to Russia, certainly a conversation of what Putin will do next, not just with respect to Russia and the Ukraine, but just in general. Perhaps there's several articles out there suggesting that he had some missteps with respect to the threats and activity with the Ukraine. So again, very interesting there, and certainly with oil prices really gravitating to lower price points. It certainly has an effect on Russia and how politically it's going to maneuver within Europe. So diving into this, we certainly, one of the main political events that's been going on overnight into this morning is the Greek Democratic Left Party says against presidential candidate proposed by government to discuss matter again on Wednesday. There's been a lot of political wrangling with the two major parties. You have the New Democratic Party and the Syriza Party. One of the main things is, should the Syriza Party gain some leverage there? Remember, they've been historically anti-austerity, anti-euro, and so again, that's creating a bit of uncertainty in the European Union with respect to certainly debt, with respect to, as I said, austerity, and so that's really creating a little bit of uncomfortable conversations within the EU. Additionally, in China, Chinese shares dropped most since 2009. China discussing perhaps curbing lending in certain areas. Also in the UK, manufacturing output fell for the first time in 5 months. That was a bit unexpected from UK manufacturing. This morning, we have the Small Business Optimism Index coming out, retail store sales, Redbook, chain store sales. 10 o'clock is the wholesale trade. Also at 10 o'clock is the JOLTS report, what we've been monitoring, and specifically Yellen has it monitors this particular report rather closely. And this is the job openings and labor turnover survey. And at 1 o'clock, the results of the 30 billion three-year auction, and that's at 1 o'clock. So what we'd like to do is to dive into a little bit of what's happening in the overnight, and spend a little bit of time on the technical level. In Asia, as we've discussed, in Shanghai, down quite a bit, lower by 5.43%. Nikkei lower by 0.68, and the Hang Seng lower by 2.34%. The European Union market certainly lower across the board, over 1%. FTSE lower by 1.63% now, excuse me, so that's a little bit lower than when we began doing this. CAC in Paris is lower by 1.72%. DAX in Germany lower by 1.52%. And IBEX is lower by 2.25%. So we're seeing some extending of the losses within Europe, and we'll see how that translates into our markets. So we have it in the U.S. S&P futures are now down 19, which is let's take a quick peek on this. Is just above the low of the morning. The low of the morning was 2038.25, so about 2.25 points away from that particular low. So we'll have, let's dive into the technicals if we could, Milt. I know there's a lot going on. What are you seeing on the technical side that's perhaps a little bit more alarming to you this morning? Certainly we had a global sell-off. European now, it's coming into the U.S. with the S&P futures being down at currently 2040.5. What are you seeing out there? What's on your mind this morning, Milt?
Well, right now, George, we're having a very negative feel this morning on the markets and futures. We had overseas some negatives in China breaking down over 5%. Greece currently down over 11-12%. So we're having a clearly a risk-off type market overseas. The futures right now are down 18.75 handles. So we're a little on the nervous Nelly side on this side of the ocean as well. We're going to see what happens trading in the morning. We're going to see what happens throughout the day going into the close. A lot of people are talking about what's going on in Greece. A lot of people are talking about overextended moves. A lot of people are talking about the Fed taking out that quote-unquote considerable time phrase in their their report this month. So you're having a lot of negative chatter, negative talk. And right now, with an overextended market, it's clearly, you're going to see a little give back. We mentioned yesterday that we want to see drop in the market. You want to see consolidation at a little lower, so they can, take in the move, understand the move, and then continue the move. We've constantly.
So Milt, a downtick, something like this, could be healthy for a positive.
It depends,
momentum,
It depends if it's on, just a healthy selling, or if it's a news-related event, sometimes it could be bigger than expected.
Right.
Typically this morning we're not seeing selling because of a move to the upside. We're seeing selling because of an outside event. Case in point, Greece. Case in point, even though many people haven't really talked about China moving up 39-50% in a year, but now that they had this huge drop in the day, they got a little nervous. So many people are taking anything they can to make a negative day truly a negative day. And this is, as of now, we have a very negative morning pre-market. We're watching all the levels. We've mentioned numerous times our levels on the ES. We've talked about that 2035 number. Hit this morning 2038. So basically that number is the number to watch. They're gonna try to bring it back to that level. They're going to try to keep that level. If that 2035 number is broken, we can easily see that 2000 handle again. We're watching it closely, watching to see if volume comes into the market, watching to see if that's a vicious volume drop through that 2035. That could show us a much larger move to the downside if that does occur. We're watching it. We're keeping a close eye on it. Clearly, the field this morning is negative, so the number to watch we're throwing out there on the ES is at 2035. It's always plus or minus a couple points. 2035, watching that number, seeing if it could stabilize and support at that level. And if it can, you could have had your, 2-3% downdraft in the market that's up straight up since 2007, 2009, 8-9. So you want to see this drop. You need to see it. It's healthy. The question is how vicious it could be. If Greece does, let's say something does happen in Greece, this could continue to affect markets. Why? Because no one knows what happens next. The market does not like something that's not consistent. They don't like uncertainty. And right now, Greece in a way has become that quote-unquote uncertainty again. Until there's something that happens there, until that gets resolved, you could see volatility come back into this market.
We haven't seen these levels in the ES in about 2 weeks, which is really interesting. It's pointing that you bring out this 240 level, this 235 level. We haven't really haven't been down here in a couple weeks, so I think that's very important to bring up.
Oh yeah, clearly, it's it needs to stabilize here. Clearly on chart party, you look at it, it needs to stabilize these levels.
Absolutely.
Let's just jump into let's just get the rest of these done. We're looking at oil. Oil this morning up 31 cents. Clearly, it's not. It's been battered for days and days and days. And it's funny when the markets are down this much that oil is the only one that's actually up, basically, except for gold. So right now, oil is up about 32 cents, trading at that 63.37 level. It's right there. The resistance right now is at 64.65. Resistance to the upside. Watching to see if that level is broken. Right now, it's we've been mentioning for days. It's something where we really do not know. Who really knows what oil is going to do next? No one does. And if they do, don't listen to them again because no one really knows. I know I've spoken to analysts when oil was trading at $100 a barrel, saying it's going to go to 200. Now all of a sudden, those guys who are saying that are saying it's going to go down to 50. So does anyone really know? I don't think so. Right now, let it do what it needs to do. Don't be a hero. Let it do what it needs to do. Let it level out. Let it find its level. Let it find its support. And then you can reevaluate the trade. But right now, oil up on a day when the markets are down huge could signify a possible bottom. We're going to see how it trades throughout the day. And throughout the day, we'll throw some updates out there.
And on oil, remember the dollar, the DXY. It's remember dollar denominated. That does have an impact on the way oil is trading.
So next we'll jump onto the VIX. VIX we've been mentioning for days. Even we also mentioned yesterday there was a very unusual call buying in the VIX. Clearly not someone knew something, but clearly people were getting a little nervous at these highs. So those call buyings from early morning yesterday clearly are showing a substantial move this morning. Right now, we're watching the 16 number to the upside. We're not sure typically where it will open this morning. When it opens, we'll have a better feel on where VIX could be going. We have that 12 to 14 tradable range. 16 is that upside resistance level to watch, seeing if that is broken. If that is broken, we could see consistent selling moving out throughout the days and later on into the week. We're watching it, seeing how it trades, and we'll update throughout the day. Lastly, I'll jump onto gold. We've been mentioning gold for days as well as been trading in a technical pattern. That's 1200 support was there for days. It's been trading at that level for practically all morning. It's been trading around 1200 and then had a little spike in the afternoon. We're watching that level. If this continues on volume, we could see that 1250 number being hit. Then at that point, we could reevaluate the trade. But as of now, oil with volume could be breaking out here, hitting that 1250 number, 1200 support. If that 1200 number is broken with volume consistently, you could see back to the 1150 levels. But as of now, the bulls are winning the game on gold. They've been trading at that 1200 number for a few days, building that level right there, and now they broke it out to the upside this morning on volume, keeping an eye on it. And if anything continues, we should see that 1250 number on gold. George?
Thank you very much, Milt. We have about 15 minutes before trading begins in the U.S. Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump back into the material in terms of what we're picking up in news this morning. Certainly, again, just a brief check on the ES futures down 1950, so that 1938 level is certainly in range. We'll see how that translates into the morning trading in about 15 minutes or so. On oil, we have here these are the ETFs, ETNs that we like to watch, that other desks and institutionals like to watch, whether it's in your portfolio, whether it's just for interest perspective on how the industry as a whole is doing. Certainly, these are nice ETFs and ETNs to monitor. Some of these are shorts, some of these are longs, some of these are 2-3 times volatility, and again, important to monitor. And whether or not you have these in your portfolio, again, interesting to watch how these move with relation to the actual oil and underlying oil names, smaller and larger names. Let's jump into what the commodities, energy, and raw material markets are doing this morning. Again, crude oil higher by 24 cents at $63.30. Gasoline higher by 0.0102 at 1.7168. Heating oil at higher by 0.0126 at 2.0674. Natural gas are at higher by 0.022 at 3.616. We have gold higher this morning, as Milton said. Really watching these levels here at currently at 12.18 and 30 cents. Higher by $23.50 this morning. Silver is also higher by about 48 cents at $16.75. Platinum is higher by $13.50 at $1,243.20. Cocoa is higher by 32 cents this morning at $29.34. Spending a little bit of time on the yield curve. We'll just have this up as you're rereading the technicals that Milton talked about. On the 10-year, we have 2.218 yield on the 10-year in the U.S. and the 30-year at 2.866. So certainly with the futures being lower, a little bit of flight to quality here. Again, a bit of a risk-off trade this morning, and we'll also check on the belly of the curve that we've been paying a a little bit of an extra attention within the last week or so, and the reason is that the 2 and the 10-year in the U.S. Have gone up in yield. So 10-year currently at 0.61%, 5-year at 1.62%, which is a considerable difference, specifically on the 2-year, as opposed to a year ago, where a year ago the 2-year yield was 0.3. And now we have 0.61. The 5-year, we had 1.48, and currently we have a 1.62. So perhaps not as pronounced as it is on the 2-year, but again, very interesting there. And on the 10-year, we have a 2.216 versus a year ago, 10-year of 2.84. We had a year ago in the 30-year a 3.87, currently a 2.864. So really almost a 100 basis points, 100 bips lower than a year ago on the 30-year. So that's rather impressive bid there in the Treasury. So that's also something that we're keeping in mind. And again, the less steeper the yield curve, certainly we have a more steeper yield curve out towards the longer maturities. But again, a flatter a less steeper curve, and that's what we've been seeing. Especially in the 2-year and the 5-year, does point to perhaps a less of an expansionary environment, specifically in the U.S. And that's something that we are keeping an eye on. So let's move on a little bit here to specific securities. We have let's first we'll do what's making news, as we're about 9 minutes away from the open here, and then we'll get into the insider purchase, and then we'll get into the some of the syndicates and some other filings that we're picking out this morning on specific securities. So BAC, Bank of America, says Q3 trading levels to fall from previous quarters. We know that certainly October was a higher volume with the if you remember the V-shaped volatility, if you will. So that's interesting there. NRG Energy Incorporated announces a $100 million buyback plan. The stock is lower, currently indicating at $27.56 to open. We'll see how that opens, and we'll track that as the markets open up. S&W Seed Company. We're not getting anything yet in pre-market. Files patent for stevia plant variety SW201, and so again, we're not getting anything yet out of S&W this morning. Apple this morning, a few bits of information coming out of Apple. It did currently near the lows of the pre-market. Pacific Crest commenting that weak iPad demand can cause Apple to miss estimates, and that's again Apple currently at $110.41 in pre-market. And that, so again, keeping an eye on that, see how that's going to open in just a few minutes. ANF, Abercrombie & Fitch rallies on the heels of the headline of their CEO is retiring. So currently at $28.20 in pre-market, and again, so seeing how that translates into trading. Continuing on, a few downgrades that we have picked out this morning. PKD Parker Drilling downgraded to neutral from outperform. We're having a pre-market indicator of $2.85. Nothing dynamic yet, but again, keeping an eye on that. Halliburton is downgraded to neutral from outperform. Again, this is all Macquarie. And currently Halliburton this morning at $38.25. Hero, Hercules Offshore, downgraded to underperform from neutral. And we're not getting anything yet out of Hero this morning. So again, something to keep an eye on as we're preparing for the open here. A few things on syndicates we'd like to go over with you. AMRI files $50 million mixed security shelf. We're not getting anything specific out of AMRI. This is Albany Molecular Research. ANV offering unspecified number of shares and warrants. So currently the stock is at 98 cents this morning. Significant decline from yesterday's close. We'll pull up the chart for you as we're going through these securities, so you can see these and perhaps watch these shares with us. Oh, there we go. A little bit of delay there. Sorry, folks. Minor technical. Okay, ANV, so Allied Nevada Gold, so you see that there's at 97 cents. CETP, secondary offering is canceled, so we have that there. Copilot Electronics, so we're waiting for that data. Sorry, folks, not sure what we're, bear with us, we'll turn you back to our presentation. Seems to be having a minor technical issue on our chart there. FLXN reports offering of 3.5 million share stocks. FLXN. So we're having a pre-market indicator at $15.50. Also HCII, and that's Homeowners Choice. Plans 3.1 million share offering. LHO sells 7.6 million shares, currently at $39.69. So again, that's a bit of a decline from yesterday's close at just around $40.87, and that's on LaSalle Hotel Properties. Moving on, a few more on the syndicates here. PCTY. We currently at 29. Yesterday's close was at $29.32. So Paylocity Holdings sells 750 shares, 750,000 shares holders to sell 3.25 million shares. Again, so keeping an eye on that. TMUS offering 17.4 million shares, expects stock series. And that's currently at $26.84 indication this morning. Again, that's T-Mobile offering 17.4 million share, expects stock series. So, and also TRNO, Toronto Realty, files to offer 8.5 million shares in secondary offering. We have $19.62 currently in pre-market. Did have a little bit of volume coming in this morning. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. So as we're preparing, just 3 minutes away from the close, let's have a quick check on the markets, and we'll get back into the specific securities. We're at S&P futures are down 20.25. We're at we are at 2039.25. So we are just above that low of the day in the S&P 500 futures that we made earlier. So again, very interesting to see how we get into the opening rotation with respect to these futures. So again, opening rotation from 9:30 to 10:30. Those folks that are somewhat new to the environment, but again, you should see a bit of selling pressure right at the open, and we'll see if there's any rebound after that first 15-20 minute first rotation of the opening. So we'll continue to monitor. Something that we're hearing coming across the wires is Gogo. CEO sees more global wins and may look at more telecom hacks. That's again Geo. CEO sees more global wins and may look at more telecom pacts. So we can take a look at GoGo, and that's currently at $14.60 this morning. So we'll see how that translates into the open. A couple of things out of some filings overnight into this morning. Wix holder Steadfast Capital reports 6.6% passive stake. Currently, we're not getting anything in pre-market at the moment. Also, WWE holders Vincent Linda McMahon report 16.4% stake. Stock, we don't have any indication yet on WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. We'll see how that turns into. And into trading this morning. So we do have the market open. Wishing you folks good hunting. So let's continue with the stocks that are making news. SUPN holder Orchard Hill cuts stake. That's Supernus Pharmaceuticals Corp. Nothing yet. We'll see currently indicating at $8.75. NOG, Northern Oil and Gas, currently at $5.55, a little bit of a stick up this morning. So again, as Milton said, we are the one so far bright light are perhaps the oil names, but again, we are seeing crude oil now down 16 cents at $62.89. So that's down. We were up about 61 cents. So we had a little bit of about 3/4 of a point reversal here in the crude oil. We're currently at $62.90. We have the dollar, the DXY at $66. I'm sorry, well, at DXY at 88.609. Excuse me, down 0.425. And again, that could have, it typically does have an impact on the way oil and other oil and gold and other commodities and precious metal, dollar-denominated precious metal trade. Okay, let's continue here. We have LHO, 7.6 million share spot secondary priced at $40.30. Currently, we talked about this, LaSalle, currently at $39.51. Currently making the low of the day. Let's try to see if we can bring up the charts one more time. If hopefully gremlins have been alleviated this morning. So again, LaSalle currently at $39.49. Created just a very early morning low of $39.43. LTS. LTS Director Frost Phillip buying 15,000 shares at $3.49. Stock is down about 0.5% this morning, and so we'll continue to monitor these positions, these stocks. So a couple of things coming out of insider purchases. EVEP, Energy Partners. We have John Walker purchasing 70,000 shares. Insiders. Currently, stock is higher by about 0.88%, purchasing 70,000 shares at $25.90. TTI, Tetra Technologies, CFO purchasing 46,000 shares. Currently, stock is higher by about 3.5%. AVID, Avid Technology. Director purchasing 57,000 shares at $13.94. Clearly, we're not getting any reaction yet, specifically in the markets, specifically in AVID. HSGX, Histogenics. We have several folks purchasing these shares. at $11, and we're seeing the stock up higher by about a little bit more than 1%. Currently at $11.07. A few more this morning on the insider transactions, insider purchases. IVAC, Schaefer director purchasing 9,800 shares at $7.43. Also, we have MRC. MRC Global certainly higher by a little bit more than 1% this morning. Director purchased 50,000 shares. CLUB, Town Sports International. We have a purchase of 20,000 shares at $6.02. So we have stock is actually still lower this morning by about 0.16%. And so we see if there's any follow through with volume. Porter Bancorp, PBIB, director purchased 20,000 shares. Really no volatility in the security this morning. We'll move on to just a few more here, folks, and we'll pick out some of the larger ones. CRK, Comstock, we have higher by 3% this morning at $5.83. And so we had a director purchase of 50,000. PTNT, really no reaction yet in the stock price this morning in internet patents. SAEX, 100,000 share president and 10% owner. You see that here, just a little bit of movement so far at $3.73 this morning. We're just having something coming through here. PDCE SunTrust raising target as 2015 guidance implies much higher productivity. Raised price target to 70 from 52. So this is a new street high. So again, this is on PDCE, PDC Energy, and again, SunTrust raising target as 2015 guidance implies much higher productivity. Raises price target to 70 from 52. Stock is currently higher by about 13% at $32.11. Okay, so we've got a couple more insider that we think is important. FOLD, Amicus Therapeutics, quite a bit lower this morning by just under 3, lower by about 3%. John F. Chairman CEO purchasing 89,000 shares at $8.36. But again, remember we have the negative tone to the market. So again, that could have an impact certainly on even more positive news for specific stocks. We have TEP, Telgras Energy Partners. We have President and CEO purchasing 1,500 shares of at $38.71. Okay. And we'll also Fuel, FUEL, Rocket Fuel. We have the director purchasing 12,000 shares at $15.14. We do have Rocket Fuel higher by 2.5% this morning, and we have Ballantyne Strong, BTN. See, director purchasing 125,000 shares at $4.02. Not much volatility, as you can see here. But again, stock is lower by about 0.75% this morning. And a quick check of markets this morning. We have futures lower by 22.25. So again, we went through that low of the day this morning at 2038. And as Milton said, that 2035 is that next level. We did hit that briefly at 2035.22. I'm sorry, 2035.25, and we're currently at 2037.25. So again, very important to watch these levels that we bring up, even if you're not perhaps a huge technical analyst, or perhaps you're more fundamental. But definitely keeping in mind specific levels will at least add some color to your trading, and specifically this is what larger institutions, traders, professional traders, non-professional traders utilize because it's already incorporated into their algos. So that those levels are really important to monitor. Also, crude oil lower by 43 cents at $62.64. We have the DXY at 88.580. We can also take a look at the E-mini euro, and that's at 1.2409. So we had a little bit of improvement in euro within the last day or so. I remember yesterday we hit that low of 122.49. We're currently at 1.2409. So again, interesting dynamics out of Euro. Certainly we're monitoring Greece. Certainly overnight China markets were down considerably. And so again, so the implication here is that we have a little bit of weakness coming into in the first few minutes of the market. We'll see if in the next rotation there's going to be any perhaps if folks are short coming into this market, taking a little bit of profit off the shorts, covering. So again, we'll see how that turns out. So we thank you for joining us. This has been Unusual Activity, powered by FinancialJuice.com with George Avedon and Milton Marmonides. We wish you a wonderful day and good hunting. Thank you for joining us on Unusual Activity, powered by FinancialJuice.com. Thank you.